Howie, and this is my second rule for trading that I've come up with. So you notice my background is now fireworks, and there is a May 2-4 weekend in Canada. So today the markets are closed. So I've just been doing some research and some learning and some sort of, I don't know, trying to figure stuff out, if you will. And I've come across something that I think I'm going to, well, I know I'm going to implement in my daily day trading for the next few weeks. And that is just sort of a bigger picture stop loss. I think I've tried to put stop losses on pretty much all my orders, if not right away within a few minutes of getting in and having an idea. But I'd like to put a daily stop loss in place. There's some mental mind difficulties that will happen if you have a massive losing day where you lose maybe more than you have won in the last 3 or 4 days. You lose it all in one day, and I think that can be a super big challenge. And I think it's also a good idea if things aren't working well for you in that particular day, you just hit that daily stop loss and then be out of it. So I'll pull up my Word document and then we'll talk about it a little. So incorporate a per trade stop loss and a per day stop loss. So this is something that I've been working on my numbers to figure out what makes sense for me. And what I read was some people do about 1% of the value of your whole portfolio per trade, but then it's like if you're a beginner, then switch it to 0.5%. So I did that. Now my account is kind of weird because even though the overall account is much bigger than I trade, about 3/4 of the account is actually put into longer term investment things like some index funds and things like that. So the actual day trading part of it is only around 40 grand. So I put that number in as sort of my starting point. So a 0.5% of account is around $200. So a $200 loss per trade. And if I look at my investments that I pulled up and I look at my per trade losses over the last say few weeks, like say this chunk of period, most of these have actually come within that stop loss. So I'm sort of setting it up already. This one of course is outside of that range, so I've sort of had that in my head. You know, back here of course there were some way chunkier numbers that I was dealing with in my loss. Like obviously this one is ridiculous, you know, $3,600. That was one I actually held overnight. I discussed that in a previous video. But so that will prevent something like this. Like if I go into this trade buying at 871, knowing that, you know, my 1% is my goal, you know, I'm going to set my stop loss at, you know, 865 or 8, whatever the number makes sense, so that I don't lose more than $200 for that trade. And it'll also prevent me from sort of having this mental feeling of maybe you have 3 winning trades and 1 loser, but that 1 loser is 3 times as much as any of your winners, so you end up, you know, just having a losing day. So that's going to be the rule for me, which is going to be $200 per trade as a maximum. And then the second part of it is percentage of account for the entire day. So basically, if I have a trading day and I am losing or I have lost at or more than $800, then I'm going to just quit for that day, regardless of how I'm feeling, regardless of if I see some amazing opportunities. I'm just going to call it a day at that $800 mark. So that also means that I put this as some notes. So if I'm in, say, 3 trades at the same time or 4 trades at the same time, and each one of those has a maximum loss of $200, I can't do anything else until one of those trades is filled or completed. And if one of them is a $200 loser, then I'm still going to be sort of frozen until those stocks move and I get out of them. Second point I made is that it is a maximum stop loss, and I'm not going to necessarily put all my stops right to the maximum. I'm going to try and use my skills to determine where a good stop loss would be, and on some stocks it might be very tight to where I buy it because I feel in that situation that maybe the stock is close to the bottom, and if it continues down past this point, then it has the chance to go way down. It's really windy here. Anyway, so I'm not just going to arbitrarily say, okay, what's $200 loss on the stock, and that's going to be my stop loss for everyone. That's going to be my maximum stop loss. So if it'll also prevent me from sort of trading any tiny stocks, because if you have a $1 stock, you can't even buy it because a 1 cent drop is 1% of the value. So the smallest stock you'd ever be able to trade would be a $2 stock with a 1 cent stop loss, which is sort of ridiculous. So it also will prevent me from getting into some really small dollar stocks. And then the other final point I wanted to make about this is that this is going to be only for day trading. So people who swing trade, maybe hold a stock for a couple of weeks, it wouldn't be wise to have just a 0.5% stop loss. There's too much volatility, and sometimes a stock might go down for another day or two before rebounding up like you thought it was going to. And having that tight stop loss would just get you stopped out of almost every stock that you get into. So yeah, I'm excited. I think this point 2 is going to be fairly advantageous for me and kind of keep me centered and connected. And I look forward to implementing it in this upcoming week. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.